Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to today's edition of NMH at 1. I'm Priska Anyolo, and I'll be sharing with you today's highlights. First up, from Rundu, our colleague Kenya Kambowe reports how the chairperson of the National Council Audit Committee, Lebius Tobias, engaged with officials at the Oshikango border post. The committee visited a number of borders to validate and see whether the challenges outlined in a report which was tabled last year by the National Council Security, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee were attended to.
Afternoon, NBC TV. So I'm Stephen Nelumbu, the principal of Mpewa Combined School in Oshikuku, Second of Sati region. I'm here by responding to the questions posed by NBC News team about the circulating letter on social media, whereby some of the commentators are saying that at Mpewa there is a case of COVID-19. So I'm hereby confirming that no, we don't have any COVID-19 case at Mpewa. However, what we have at Mpewa is that we
solely lies on the shoulders of the Minister of Health, whether all of us are engaged. But when it comes to whatever the supplies and everything, it has to come from the Ministry of Health. Now for the colleague honestly to say that you should ask, it does not make sense to me, not at all. And that is what I'm saying while we are on this point, colleagues, fellow Namibians, that the truth is that whether we want to take it or not, it's us as Namibians who are making other Namibians to suffer. Is somebody who's a Namibian citizen who's sitting in the office who is not even, we have started from Ochodonjupa and we have started to address these things. The Ministry of Health could have picked this and already run to say, well, let's go to the border post and see whether colleagues, fellow Namibians have got those things. No, they are seated in the office and wait for somebody to call, and you will probably be told, no, we do not have that, wait for 2 or 3 weeks if we get something. These are fellow Namibians, and if we honestly do not address
Next, the African Development Bank released its Southern African Economic Outlook Report for 2020, indicating that Namibia is more vulnerable due to South Africa's economic growth. Yolanda Nell has more.
COVID-19 response and economic diversification is crucial for growth recovery in Southern Africa, which is the most affected region on the continent. According to a statement from the African Development Bank, South Africa is now the 5th worst affected country in the world, bordering on close to 500,000 confirmed cases, while Namibia can be seen as more vulnerable to the neighboring countries' impending contraction in economic growth. Unemployment is likely to escalate, especially in the hardest hit sectors such as tourism and hospitality, entertainment, retail, and trade and agriculture, where most of the people in the region are employed. COVID-19 aside, Namibia experienced an economic decline for 3 consecutive years from 2017 to 2019 amid falling revenues from the Southern African Customs Union.
The principal of the Mpewa High School in Oshikuku reacts to a reported COVID case at the school. This video was contributed.
Afternoon, NBC TV. So I'm Stephen Nelumbu, the principal of Mpewa Combined School in Oshikuku, Second of Sati region. I'm here by responding to the questions posed by NBC News team about the circulating letter on social media, whereby some of the commentators are saying that at Mpewa there is a case of COVID-19. So I'm hereby confirming that no, we don't have any COVID-19 case at Mpewa. However, what we have at Mpewa is that we have a child in grade 11 who was in close contact with the COVID-19 victim, the case that was reported last week. So the child confirmed that he is a close friend to that person and they were together. And then we have isolated that child from others through contact with the parents. And the child was taken to Oshikuku hospital for testing, and we are now waiting for the result. However, to make matters worse, the very same boy, early in the morning yesterday on the 27th of July, when he arrived at school, he tried to spit on the desk for all his classmates, as well as their teacher's table and the door handle for their class. So the classmate came to report late when we were about to knock off. Therefore, the following day, on the 28th of July 2020, we decided not to allow the grade 11 to go back to those classrooms, especially that class which have got a desk which the boys spitted on for their safety. We wrote letters which they took to their parents to inform them that the children of grade 11 should stay home until the hospital give us the result for that boy. If the result will come negative, then it will be safe for the children to come back into the classrooms. But if the result comes out positive, then that is now up to the region to decide what they will do with the school. However, what we have tried so far, we have tried to sanitize the toilets which those children use, but tomorrow on the 29th of July we are also going to sanitize the classroom, all the classrooms for grade 11. Now, to the question of what will be done to the boy after he comes back, of course we have got a learner's code of conduct at school, and the boy will go through disciplinary hearing, which will be convened by the school management and the school board. For now, I'm unable to tell you what will happen to the boy because the whole decision will lie on the school management and the school board. But the boy will go through disciplinary hearing because spitting on the other's desk is a very serious offense, and it poses a health hazard to the others and the entire school. So briefly, that's what I can tell you so far. So in conclusion, all what we are saying is we don't have any COVID-19 case at Mpewa. We are waiting for the result. Thank you very much.
Keeping with COVID news, today's stats show quarantine data per region as on Sunday. The total number of people quarantined significantly increased during the past week. Numbers were adjusted upward with slightly more than 1,300. This is due to local quarantine and corrections in figures for the Irongo, Karas, Ohangwena and Omaheke regions. More than 6,000 people have been placed under quarantine since March. By Sunday, 676 people were in quarantine in Irongo. Almost 1,400 persons have been quarantined in this region. Commerce region with 207 has the second largest number of people in quarantine. This number did not change during the past week. Adjustments per region were as follows. Irongo 915, Karas 116, Ohangwena 14 and 89 in Omaheke. Staying with COVID, Jareen Hoff of the Windhoek Express spoke to Henriette Lamprecht on the burial of persons who died of the virus.
Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to this interview segment of NMH at 1. With me in the studio is Henriette Lamprecht. She is NMH's resident health reporter, and she knows everything that there is to know about COVID and whatnot. Today she is here to talk to us about what protocols are being observed with the burial of COVID-19 victims. Henriette, you said to me earlier that Namibia follows World Health Organization protocols. Please elaborate on this.
Yes, Doreen. In this case, as in all cases with infectious diseases, the safety and the well-being of every single person that's involved with this body, i.e. from the health worker to the family to the funeral parlor, is of utmost importance. And already we have safety measures in place, and which relates to either disposable gowns or masks or gloves, which we already adhere to. So this is basically just sticking a bit more to that. If I can start from the beginning, people can either die at home or then at hospital. So you start already, the protocol kicks in there. So the health worker will already have a mask or gloves already.
They'll already have it on.
And
they'll already also be wearing PPE.
Exactly. So what's important in this case is you don't need a body bag specifically for a person.
I understood that you wrote that linen is also fine.
Yeah, linen is fine. These linen and either the patient or the patient at a hospital or then at home doesn't need to be disposed of. You can wash it in warm water. It's fine. The important thing is less movement of the body. So you don't need to handle it a lot.
And that's also why embalming is actually discouraged for a person that died of COVID.
Yes, because you want to limit the movement of the body.
What about families that feel they really want to say goodbye to their loved ones?
This is all allowed. We skipped a step now. If you move from the, which is also very important because people thought the person needs to go in a body bag to the mortuary. That's not necessary. In the mortuary, you already have safety measures in place. Again, it's very important to limit the people involved in the autopsy, firstly, and then secondly, not a lot of movement or handling of the body. A lot of people prefer to go see their family member or friend
that is passed on.
That is passed on. This is allowed, but preferably not children.
And people that are immune compromised.
Yes, and people older than 60. Of course, if they want to, it all now depends on the situation. They are allowed, but no touching or kissing, but they can go see their loved one.
Okay, so in terms of how infectious can such a body be?
Yeah, that's actually the most important question, and which the WHO makes very clear that only in cases like Ebola fever and Congo fever, which is highly infectious diseases, only then the body is infectious actually. So dead bodies of people that died of COVID-19 is not infectious.
And if I remember correctly, you said until now no study has actually said otherwise.
Yes, there's no study that says that if for instance you now died of COVID-19 and I handle your body, either a health worker or a funeral parlor or a family member, that I can get infected. You can't get infected. It's also important to know that lungs, however, it's an influenza disease,
yes.
And that the lungs, the fluids in the lungs of a COVID-19 patient can be infectious, but of course you won't, it's actually more important for people that's doing the autopsy to take care of this and to limit this.
Okay, funerals, when it comes to, should it be a burial or a cremation?
Yeah, that's also a myth that states that, or that people feel if you died of an infectious disease, and in this case COVID-19, it's better to cremate the person. That's not true. It's, if you want to, it's a personal choice. So you can either be cremated or it's buried.
And tell me, should people be afraid at all of a funeral or of living close to a cemetery?
Doreen, if you stick to measures that's already in place now, keeping your social distance, of course it's difficult, especially at a funeral, but limit your your interaction with people. Don't touch people. Wear your mask. Of course, when you're done and you leave, wash your hands. Then it's nothing to be scared of. And I think it's very important. There's a lot of stigma already towards COVID-19 patients. We've got a picture, I don't know if it was shown now already, that we have on our front page of a patient that died. Yes, and it looks like a scene out of a horror movie actually, because everybody is dressed in PPEs. Of course, it's your choice, but it doesn't need to be that way. It's not a strict thing that you must wear. Everybody, single person must wear these PPE clothing.
So you can really go and say goodbye to your loved one with complete dignity.
You can, and they can leave this earth for the last time with dignity as well. Yes.
Henriette, thank you very much for providing clarity on this. If we need any more health info, we will definitely push on your number. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We'll see you later.
In today's headlines, Republican leads with Namibia's application for a 4.5 billion Namibian dollar loan from the International Monetary Fund. The Algemeine Zeitung leads with a similar report, along with how many Windhoek businesses have had to close shop due to suspected COVID-19 transmission. This situation is echoed by the Namibian Sun that carries a similar report, along with an article on how President Hage Geingob bemoans tribalism in SWAPO. The Namibian also leads with the application for the IMF loan, along with a report on how government spent more than 400,000 Namibian dollars in legal fees for an investigation into workers accused of stealing meat and milk worth 15,000 Namibian dollars. The New Era leads with aid pouring in for residents of Twaloloka and how the second attempt by Ricardo Gustavo to get bail was refused. On page 3 of the Namibian Sun, Jemima Beerkus reports how some communities feel government only commemorates events related to the liberation struggle led by SWAPO. On page 2 of the Algemeine Zeitung, the Ministry of the Environment plans on introducing a nature conservation fee from January 2021, which will be charged in addition to the existing park entry fees in national and wildlife parks. Inside the Republican, Elvira Hatting reports on a comet that can be seen in the southern hemisphere. So get your binoculars or telescope ready in the hopes of catching comet Neowise. Inside the New Era, the Electoral Commission of Namibia approved the registration of the affirmative repositioning movement to contest the Windhoek local authority polls. While in the Namibian, the sad news of how, besides losing all their early positions, a family in Havana also lost 10,000 Namibian dollars in cash when their shack burnt down. Also from the NMH stable today is this month's edition of Die Boer, with a special focus on how worried the local dairy industry is about the future of local milk production. In today's edition of Ewi Iwa Noli, Kenya Kamboa reports that the unemployment rate amongst the youth in Kavango West stands at 46.8%, along with the news that 55 schools in Oshikoto are without power. Also, 23 Rundu families are still waiting for municipal services at the Promised Land settlement. Inside my.na properties, to gain industry insight into how COVID-19 is affecting the property market, Julian van Rooyen spoke to Mariska Schmidt of Makalani Real Estate from both a tenant and landlord's point of view. That is And that is it for today. I've been your host, Priska Agnolo, and we would just like to thank our awesome viewers for always tuning in and watching. Thank you so much for watching NMH at 1, and don't forget to wash your hands and practice social distancing. I'll see you all again tomorrow.